Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Yo on the Go Leadership Moments. Today's special guest is Kate Mercado of Forward Incorporated, a startup in San Francisco. And Kate is also a featured speaker at the 2021 IEEE Rising Stars Conference. She is an accomplished material scientist for MIT and UC Berkeley and is focused on transforming the delivery of primary care using pervasive and wearable sensors to inform machine intelligence about your health. And it's really about you, the viewer, and all about upgrading the vehicles in all our lives. That's why we're here on the Yo and Go series. Kate, it's really great to have you here to be able to talk about this wonderful experience of machine learning and health. Curious, how do you lead in this environment in a startup as a material scientist doing machine learning?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is some of the stuff that I love to talk about the most. I happen to run a team that has a lot of, we have hardware engineers, we have software engineers, we have machine learning engineers, we have data scientists, and that is a fantastic junction of specialties to be dealing with it every day. But there are other teams at Forward that are just as exciting and pushing just as much for the same mission, that are doing our remote care, our telemedicine improvements, our actual, the software that the doctors themselves use. And so I think the principles of leadership and management are kind of consistent across all of them.
Now, we were mentioning earlier that, the leadership principles, we are typically used to a charismatic leader in the center of a small startup company, really bringing everybody together, and they're working, 10, 12 hours a day, eating candy and all that stuff to be able to get this thing done. And we've found ourselves in a completely different environment, which you mentioned earlier, that we're now in our homes, right, executing this incredible technology and startup from our homes. How does that work? How does that play? And how do you encourage your teams and develop them in this environment?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And what I can take no credit for is how intentional the whole company has been. We have really taken it seriously. We've really taken it upon ourselves to all be very explicit around choosing when possible and when comfortable to meet in person, choosing to very intentionally set just a couple of more social based meetings per week. So,
Hmm.
I worked very hard to be in the fortunate position, but I'm in the fortunate position that I am one of the longer serving engineers at Forward, and so I have a network. And so when we talk about getting things done, I kind of know the right answer. And what we need to do as we onboard all these new engineers and as we bring everyone up and try and give them the same feeling of connection with their teammates, with their colleagues, is we need to kind of model for them the
Hmm.
system of how things get done here. So, who is the right person to ask that kind of question? And so there's a lot more explicit work around teaching the personal connections and explaining the personal connections rather than just saying, today we're writing some code and tomorrow we're, deploying some scripts.
So it's really not just looking at the kind of the work-based structure and what you need to do to get done for the day, but it's really building upon and developing that network inside the company. I think that's a really key insight as you bring somebody on. As I mentioned earlier, I just started my new position 3 weeks before COVID hit,
Mhm.
and those networks were not there. But throughout that time period, as working together, I've developed that network, and I think it's really crucial for somebody coming in. That's a key portion of mentorship for existing engineers and existing managers to be able to bring that network to that person. I think that's a really key and insightful point. That must be a motivation for you as a leader. I'm kind of curious, what kind of things motivate you? What other things motivate you as a leader?
I'll tell you, ownership is the key to everything. And so what it is, the we screen, I bow down in awe to our recruiting team who keeps an insanely high culture bar at all times. everyone who comes to Forward, is just in it for the mission and in it for all the right reasons. And so it's so easy to motivate yourself to work with teams like that. It's so easy to motivate teams like that because you always are stepping back to the why, and you say, well, this is for this is how we're going to get this improved healthcare for free for a billion people, which is our mission statement. And you can come to work every day and you can say, all I do as a manager in a lot of cases is just work to unblock people from the mission they already want to pursue.
Mm.
And Drew Isaacs at Berkeley Business School is actually a business professor who I love. And engineers, we certainly have our stereotypes about business professors, but man, this guy is good. And he always distinguishes between leadership and management. And so leadership is kind of telling people where they want to go, and the way he phrases is that management is sort of figuring out how to get there. And so my role and so many other people's roles with or without the title at Forward and within our teams is to both figure out where we're going and figure out how we get there, and to flow back and forth between those requirements. And I think what is so important is that everybody feels the right to do that. And so we all kind of feel the ownership of, well, if I think that we're not going in the right direction, I figure out how to get it so that I figure out how to build the agreement that a slightly different direction is the place to go. And then when it comes down to the how, then the motivation is clear. If you want the same thing, then we sit in a room, we look at the trade-offs, and we say, how are we going to get there? What can happen? What can't happen? What would take 3 extra weeks if you really wanted to do it? All right, what are we going to do? So I find that motivation is kind of never an issue, and it's just a spectacular testament to, again, going back to the recruiting team and the culture bar.
That's really awesome that the culture itself is one of those core things about a company or a business that's actually way more important. I've heard it before that everybody has ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. It's executing on those ideas that's the important part. And I think that culture, that recruiting team, you always think about, okay, the star players or the star team working together, writing code in the middle of the night, getting this stuff done. But it's really that culture that's instilled, and you're sharing that it's that recruitment team to find the right people, to continue that culture throughout that period of time, so that there is a freedom for people to speak up and to address concerns, and have all of leadership be shared to the entire organization. That is not a title that you put on somebody. Everybody has that responsibility. That's really encouraging to hear.
It's really important that everybody here, we bias towards just being scrappy, right? Everything is, yes, we still try intentionally to feel like it's a startup, despite having increasingly persuasive arguments that we're a real company. We're trying very hard to continue in the startup idea, right? But what can be super toxic about startup environments is this idea of heroism, right? This idea of the superstar. And so what we have is a team of insanely talented people, of course, but the idea of heroism as a backstop, like, oh no, we need to launch a new site, like somebody needs to go pull an all-nighter, I'm really sorry, man, we'll buy you a beer later. Heroism as a backstop is still scrappy, but heroism as a plan can burn out your team. And so we've become much more mature and much more, and I keep using the word intentional, but it really is a theme, intentional about trying to pick our battles for where to kind of not test people's mission, but where to kind of draw from purely the faith-based of the mission, and where to kind of say, no, this is work, we're doing it, it is sustainable, it is regular work. Because of course, look, we're a healthcare company in the century's biggest global healthcare crisis. Of course we're working hard. Of course we're pulling much longer hours than you'd kind of originally, you'd want necessarily if you were looking at it from, I've been at GE for 30 years. And so we definitely just need to strike the balance between the realities of the urgency of the situation, but also the realities of the humanity of the people trying to execute.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to hear your passion in that right now we're in that this is exactly why you are doing what you're doing as a person, as a startup. Your mission's lined up, and the mission, it has a time. There's a time frequent issue right now. It's important, and it's impending, and that's really exciting to hear that the team is coming together to make that happen. It's not depending on the hero, but it's working throughout the entire hero's journey. It feels like not just a Frodo, but the entire fellowship, right, of the ring
I
that's
like
making
that.
that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with every fellowship and with everyone having different ideas, what do you do as a team when you're unsure where to go, from whether to go left or right?
Yeah, the idea of North Stars and the idea of always coming back to the why obviates most of those decisions.
Mm.
In so many cases, you're not looking for the truth, you're looking for more true, right? So sometimes in a lot of cases now, but not especially now, at all times, left and right are valid decisions. You're just needing to find out what to do, what is the most right, what is the most valid, what is the most timely, what would unblock the most forks for the future, what would
Mm-hmm.
de-risk the most decisions moving forward. So you can think of it as you have some teams that need to be working with a greedy algorithm. They need to be looking at left and right and always just being like, left is the best decision for right now, so I will take left right now. And this is sort of a turn of phrase that we've been using a lot recently. But other teams, and sometimes this needs to come from the product vision, or sometimes this needs to come from the C-level leadership, or even then within teams, you need some people to go, I know that's the best decision for today, but I need you to be making the best decision for next quarter and next half and next year. And so, of course, it's true that there's tension there, but in almost every case, as long as you've thought through and had your eyes open for the trade-offs, they're not, it's not contentious. We all know that the prime directive is real. We all know that we are doing the best we can with the knowledge and resources that we have at hand, and we're making the best decisions in the context that we have. And so it's a really positive thing that you'll often walk out of a meeting and you'll be like, okay, well, my mind was changed, that's okay, but my mind wasn't changed due to any of this kind of flip-floppy weakness, whatever is portrayed in politics. It's, oh, you had more context that I didn't have, thank you for explaining that, great, I'm glad we're aligned now. And so I think I won't go as far as to reject the premise of, it's a decision between left and right. It's often a decision between left today and then also right next month, if that turns out to be the right answer. But it can be a lot less contentious as long as the motivation, as long as the why is always addressed.
So really, you're going back again to that mission to be able to say we're not working in the problem and pointing the problem at each other. We're working on the problem, and whatever solution best matches that problem is what we'll use. And today it could be right, and tomorrow it could be left. So those are really, really great insights. Thank you so much, Kate, for the time that we've had. I'm super excited to have spent time with Kate, and as well as you, the viewer. If you want to be able to interact with Kate at the IEEE Rising Stars Conference in January 2nd to 4th, she will be there, as well as the other speakers that we have. Look at the description below for the link to register, and as you register, look out for Kate and the others. Kate, this was a really exciting time to spend with you, and until next time, bye.
Thank you so much.